apartment complex. It's a very old building with a lot of character, which I absolutely love. We walk into the elevator, and it's one of those old elevators where you have to like pull a gate and it bounces right before you get off. It's really cute. She was really worried about me being scared. We walk into her apartment and everything is so neatly placed and thoughtfully decorated. I immediately take note of all the eclectic artwork that she's collected and the beautiful antique-looking mirrors and the distinct pieces, like the carefully curated gold bar cart or the antique lion that holds up her hand towel. It definitely reminded me of one of my first apartments. I step in, take off my shoes, we crack open a beer, and we just sit and chit-chat. I take in the apartment for a while. There's a lot of noise happening on the street, but it doesn't bother me. There's almost a soothing experience about hearing the traffic drive by. There's a church in the near distance, and we can hear the commotion. It gets pretty loud. So I'm just warning you, this is going to be a very different type of recording than what you're used to. You're going to feel the elements of the city. And actually, I think it's absolutely perfect. Thank you so much for having us here in your space. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome anytime.
Thank you. I'm going to be over here all the time trying to get alone time. Well, you know, girl time. Both of us, Vanessa and I, we experimented. So she was doing the Thinx and I was doing the Diva cup. And I thought it would be fun if we just chatted about it today. I want to know your experience. For those of us that don't know, please tell us what Thinx are, because I don't even really get it.
You know, I barely get it. Basically, they're period underwear. That's the easiest way to describe them. They are super absorbent underwear that feel like underwear. They don't feel like you got like a diaper on or a pad. They're like super thin. You basically, I think if it's like your low to medium flow, it takes care of you for like the whole day.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I remember you did an Insta story on them.
Yes.
And they were really cute, like high-waisted.
They're so cute. Yes. Yeah, I almost took a picture of myself in them and I was like, wait, maybe not.
You should have. I would have appreciated it. They kind of remind me of like a really cute vintage 50s vibe.
They felt like a bathing suit material. Like they were a little thick like that, but not uncomfortable. And you couldn't notice them through like my jeans or anything like that.
So you put them on. Are you just like freaking out that you're gonna like bleed out of them?
Yes. I'm very precautious about absolutely everything in my life. So you can imagine me just putting on underwear and hoping for the best.
Right.
Like, no. So it was scary.
And how long does it say it'll sustain? Like how many hours?
It didn't say. Yeah, it did not say. And I was freaking out. But I was like, well, if it said light to medium flow and you wear underwear for a whole day, like I don't change my underwear in the middle of the day. So I was like, that should probably be for an entire day. So I was like, I'm going to take backup supply of tampons and panty liners just to be safe because I don't know what the day holds.
Right.
And you never know sometimes with your flow, right?
Yeah. She was right. The information was really vague. I looked up the particular panties that she had. And as I look on the website, it says it holds up to 2 tampons worth. But what kind of tampons? Super? Light? Regular? I don't know. It scares me. I'm still really intrigued and I really want to try them. They recently released cotton underwear, so that bathing suit material that Vanessa talked about, they have another option, 100% cotton. And there's also different styles. What I noticed between the different styles was that it holds anywhere from 1.5 to 2 tampons. But again, a super tampon, a regular tampon, a light tampon, we don't know. I went on to ask her again for the second time, as if I hadn't heard it the first time. How long, how many hours would the panties hold up? And I was equally as shocked the second time she told me. In terms of how many hours it sustains, does it say how many hours it'll sustain?
No. It did not.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it did not. It just said light, because I was like, how do I know what this can hold? Like, so I looked at it and it only said light to medium flow. And I was like, well, that's me. So I was like, I think I'll be okay. But I was scared because I don't know what that really means either.
Right.
You know?
So they just throw you into the deep end. Yeah. So you're wearing them. How long did you wear them for?
I wore them for the whole day.
When you say the whole day, what does that mean?
From like morning to like the
bedtime?
Yeah.
And any accidents?
Nope.
Wow. Then the big question, right? Mm-hmm. You have to wash them.
Yes.
So what was that experience like?
So this was the weird thing. It said to hand wash them and then wash them in your washing machine. Cold wash. But I was like, well, if I'm going to I hand wash a lot of things. So I was like, well, if I'm going to hand wash them, I'm just going to go for it. Like rinse them and then like use soap.
Yeah.
And I thought, like TMI, I thought like once I rinsed them, like it was going to be like the Red Sea in the sink. And it was not at all. Really? No.
Where did it go?
I don't know. It's freaking me out. To this day, I'm like, where did it go? Did it go back inside me? Like, what happened?
And did you just try it for that one day?
No, I used it the entire period.
And so every time you washed it, it was like...
Yeah, no, there was nothing every time I washed it. Wow. I don't know what was going on. I don't know.
I tried to find some information on exactly what happens to the blood if it gels into the underwear, if it has some super cool technology. Well, I mean, it does have super cool technology, but it could just be that Vanessa's periods are pretty light. She did mention she's light, so that could be a possibility. Have you bled again since then?
Yeah.
Are you using them again?
I didn't use them this time because I wanted to see if I really liked them. Like, you know, like to go back to my normal. And I think I do want them.
Oh, interesting.
Because my big thing is like cleanliness. Like I need to feel fresh and clean. I was worried. I like tampons because I like how I feel clean. Like I don't like pads because I feel like icky and, you know. And I think also like how we think of it too. Like people have put that on us. Like you gotta be clean down there, you know, no, you know, you don't want messiness. Yeah. So I've been using tampons for a while and I was afraid that this was gonna feel like a pad and be like feel messy and sloppy.
I didn't even think about that. Now my head is going all kinds of other places because you change your pad ever so many hours. And so there's accumulated blood. Was it smelly?
Nope.
Wow.
I was very shocked at how comfortable they were and how non-messy it was. It absorbed everything and TMI, but when you look down, right, because they're black, right? Yeah. So when you look down at it, you really don't see anything because it's just like taking everything in. So I wasn't even like, sometimes you look and you're like, oh wow, like that's a lot, right? And like I didn't see anything because they were black for one, and then on top of that, it absorbed everything. It looked like if I had a black panty liner at the end of my period. That's what it looked like. There was nothing. So how do Thinx even work? It's so confusing to me. Well, here's what it said online. The top layer fights bacteria and absorbs any liquid. So I'm guessing the fighting of the bacteria explains for the lack of odor that Vanessa reports. The liquid then goes into a really thin layer right beneath the actual underwear. So you always stay dry. And fly is what the website says. And I guess according to Vanessa, they're right. And as the day progressed, the first day that I wore them, I got more confident in them. I liked the idea of not having any product inside of my body. I felt free. I was like, woo! Like I felt good. Yeah. I liked that feeling, and I think that's why I want to go back. It was just annoying because I had one pair. Yeah, and I think it would make sense to have a couple, right? Yeah, exactly. What I was doing was at night, I'd take them off, I'd wash them and let them dry, and then in the morning, I'd wear them again. They back up Vanessa's experience in saying that it doesn't feel like diapers, and it's not like sitting in your own blood. They go on to recommend that you can use these panties in addition to using a Diva cup or a sea sponge as a sort of backup. Which sounds like a good idea. I'm actually so intrigued that I think I'm going to try them. You should try them. Only thing that worries me is that my body isn't cute and tiny like yours.
So I worry about, like, the ring around my thighs. You know what I mean?
I was
Like,
actually worried about how it would look because they're like high-waisted granny panties, basically.
Yeah.
So I was worried, but the edges of them are like those seamless panties. You know, like they're super thin.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, this. I thought they were gonna look like bulbous and like just funky.
Right.
No, I felt really confident.
Wow.
And they were nice and hugging.
Yeah. So, like, the tummy area?
Yeah.
Nice. I think
was
I'm
like
gonna
2 in
try
1.
them. Yeah. I think I'm totally gonna try them. Thinx panties are available in lace, cotton, spandex, and cotton blend. And the embarrassing granny panty lines that I was worried about, they have different cuts for all body types and different preferences. They guarantee to give you your money back if you're not satisfied after a 60-day trial period. So essentially, you get the opportunity to try them 3 times and then decide if this is something you want to stick with or not, which I appreciated. Overall, Vanessa had a really good experience with her Thinx panties, but because her period is light and she only tried them once, I wanted to do some research to see if I could find other women's reviews and see what the most common complaint was. It was a little hard to find the complaints. It seems that Thinx only filters positive comments, so you can't really see any negative reviews. I was able to find several. Most common complaint was that women with really heavy flows have to change their panties every 2 hours. So that's not very practical. Other women reported the quality of the underwear, in particular the lace ones, began to unravel and fall apart. So, I mean, I don't know, at $30 to $40 for a pair of underwear, that can be a pretty pricey experience. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about the experience I had with the Diva Cup.
Return to the one.
So now can you tell me about the Diva Cup?
Yes. For those that don't know, the Diva Cup is, imagine this silicone plastic. I actually don't know what it's made out of, but it's like a plasticky, silicone-y cup that has like a little stem at the bottom of it. The Diva Cup is not plastic. It's made out of silicone that starts as a liquid, and then the molecules are bound together. It's supposed to be completely safe, and it's been tested to ensure that none of the molecules break away from the product inside of your vagina. And you insert the Diva Cup into your vagina, and it's supposed to sort of suction, like, it does that. And then it catches all of your flow, and then you pinch it out. So my first initial impressions, my nails were long at the time. I found it very painful to insert with my nails. There was like too much going on. Everything is so sensitive down there, you know. So you have to fold the cup like a taco. So you fold it once in half and then again, so it looks kind of like a taco, and then you stick it up there. So this is what I found that was the easiest for me in terms of inserting it, was to actually squat on the floor, like pretend like you're gonna pee on the floor somewhere, and you push like that. Oh. So that noise I just made is called bearing down. When I first looked this up, I had no idea what bearing down meant. I thought that maybe it was like doing a squat like a bear. I just genuinely didn't know. So that noise, that's the only noise that I could most eloquently find to describe what bearing down meant. And it's like pushing your vagina out. While you're pushing, you insert it in. And then you release and you hear it go.
You could hear it?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
And how did you know to squat?
I wasn't doing it right, and I looked up like a bunch of different YouTube videos, and there were different women that gave different ideas, like put one leg up on the tub and then insert it. But the one that I found that was the easiest and really worked was the squatting like you need to pee. And I think you only need to do that in the beginning, because once I got the hang of it, then I was like, okay, cool. I'm good to go.
It makes me think of putting contact lenses in your eyes. Like, it's hard to get used to it. You get comfortable with your body.
There's 2 different sizes for the Diva cup. When I first purchased the cup, I noticed that there was a model number 1 and a model number 2. I purchased model number 2 thinking that I was getting the latest and the greatest, but it turns out that model number 1 and model number 2 are only different in sizes. Model number 1 is recommended for women under the age of 30 who have never delivered vaginally or by C-section. Model number 2 is recommended for women age 30 and over, and or for women who have delivered vaginally or by C-section. So I have to mention this as well. There's a stem at the end of the Diva cup. In the beginning, when I first put it on, I felt like, oh no, I cannot do this. It was like rubbing in between my lips and stuff.
Wow. I remember you saying it on your Instagram story.
It was kind of like chafing.
It sounded painful.
Yeah.
Because I picture like a hard plastic stem with the like hard edge.
Yes. It is hard. It's still like silicone-y, you know? But you can cut it. Someone said you can cut that stem.
But how do you get it out, right?
You just have to be comfortable and stick your pointer finger and your thumb up into the cup and pull. But I was like, I'm not that comfortable yet. We're going to leave the stem on. When I actually bared down and inserted it, that in doing that, I was able to push it far up enough that I couldn't feel it anymore. So the reason I was in pain initially and in discomfort is because I wasn't putting it in correctly. So during that time, I was getting my underwear dirty, the most fucking annoying thing in the world. I didn't have liners and I just wasn't prepared. Then when I learned to bear down, I was like, okay. So it's the vacuum and the pop. That's when you know you're good to go. I looked up the most common complaints about the Diva cup. I wanted to research how many women gave up on using it, and most actually gave up in the beginning, during the stage that I went through, where I didn't know how to insert correctly and I was in pain, and I was also bleeding through, mainly because it wasn't inserted correctly. One of the easiest techniques for me was to actually get in the shower and practice inserting the Diva cup as I squatted and bared down. As soon as I got the method down, I was good to go and I was no longer feeling discomfort or bleeding through. But like everything else, you know, this isn't for everybody. The first time I removed it, it did make a mess. It leaked over, I splattered it, like it was just a mess.
Because it's basically like a little cup of your flow.
Which is really interesting because then you have to go and pour it. You can either pour it down the toilet, like if it's too much for you. For me, I was really intrigued and I wanted to see it.
Yeah, I would want to see it too.
Yeah, I wanted to see it. I wanted to see the color. I've never seen it other than, you know.
all collected in one place.
Exactly, like caldito.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I poured it and it was really interesting to see just the consistency of it surrounding the sink and coat the sink. It was like very dark and then it went orange. And I liked the idea of watching it go down the sink and just almost like a little communion.
Like a little ritual. I want to try it. It's super intimidating for me.
It was intimidating for me too, but I just kept thinking like it would be nice to be in a cleaner space because like you, if you remember, I used tampons my whole life and then I went to using pads because my body was telling me to stop using tampons. So I just wanted to get into a space where I was clean again, where I wasn't like seeing the blood, but I still wanted to be able to see the blood. It's this weird space.
No, it makes sense. I wanted to still be connected to it.
When I made that transition, I was terrified to do the Diva cup. Very intimidated, just exactly the same way you feel.
It just sounds so complicated. How was it seeing how much you released?
Oh, that was crazy. So the Diva cup, it actually has measurements. So it tells you like half an ounce, an ounce. It tells you like where you're at.
Wow.
So it was really interesting to see those days where your flow is like really heavy, and it's interesting to see the different colors of your flow because it changes, the browns and the reds and the thickness, and then you can actually see the clots.
Yeah.
Which I'm always curious about. Like, I'm just weird.
I know you said it was messy when you first took it out, but are you like a pro now where you
so
like take it out and like you're like it's like a little like mini like flow champagne flute?
Exactly. I've used the Diva cup now for 2 bleeds, and most women report feeling very comfortable using the cup after the second time around. I don't even have to squat and bear down anymore. I know what position my body needs to like get in. I have to share something with you because I just freaking share everything. Alfonso doesn't know this. I haven't shared this with anyone. Just the dog knows. Today I decided that on my first flow, I would take out what I collected and I would put it back into the earth as like a sacrifice of sorts. So it was really interesting. I just held the cup and I just went over my intentions for the month because since, we're under the new moon, I believe the flow is carrying energy from the last moon because it's everything you've got rid of. It's the death, right? But I also believe it also has to contain the energy of my new intentions. So I just took a moment and I did a little prayer with the blood and I just told it, you're holding my intentions, and if it's in our true intent and if it is going to do right by us, then I want to give this sacrifice to the earth and ask that in return my intentions flourish. So then I went into the backyard and I dug a little hole and I poured it and then I buried it.
That's awesome. And you just decided to do that today?
It was an impulse. I did come across, I can't remember if it was a book that I'm reading or something that I read, but somewhere I came across something that said that you really need to focus on the impulses of your intuition. So, okay, for me, there's very clear requests from my intuition, but then there's also these really quick, I can almost describe them as like a snap. You should do this. You should do this. You should do this. And I don't ever react on those. Not as much as I should. Because they're almost like totally deviating you from what you're going to do. Yeah. Granted, I'm just going to throw this in the sink and wash it out.
Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it came, and I thought I went back to what I had heard, I guess it was yesterday, about really following those impulses because they can completely change the course of the direction of where you're headed. And you have no idea what they can bring forward and the gifts that it can give you. So as soon as I had that impulse, I'm like, okay, I'm such a weirdo. I'm turning into this. And I love that earlier, before we started recording, you said I don't like to use the word weirdo because it's not appropriate. So I'm going to honor that, and I'm not going to say I'm a weirdo. I'm changing. And it's so weird to see myself change in this way because not that long ago, I can remember when my biggest priority was buying shoes and doing my hair, and just everything was different. And now I have these impulses to put my blood in my backyard and bury it. Yeah.
It's awesome. I think it's so awesome, and it's inspiring to hear how you just go for it and you listen. I don't think a lot of us, know how to listen and then even follow through with what's coming through.
Right, yeah. But I was thinking that if I were you and my intuition said, do this, that I would like go to that plant and put my blood in that plant.
Oh, damn.
There. I was thinking like you can create, because I thought like, well, if I lived here, where would I go outside? But I would put it in a plant.
And I have a lot of plants.
And you have a lot of plants to put it in.
My plant babies.
They would thank you, I think.
They might live longer, too.
Yeah, I believe it. I totally believe it. It turns out that my intuition and Vanessa's intuition stating that she thinks the plants might live longer is actually a fact. Menstrual blood works to fertilize soil because it contains 3 primary plant macronutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So, there you go. I guess I'm not weird. I'm just intuitive. We have yet to see if the intentions that I placed into the blood and then into the earth flourish or manifest in a faster or different way. But I imagine that like anything else that's karmatic, I put energy into the earth, so I suppose I can expect for the earth to put out energy in return.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have another question. Do you feel more comfortable with your body after using the Diva cup?
That's a great question.
Know it more?
I definitely feel much more connected, and I feel appreciative to what my body has the ability to do. Because I do think that when I was using tampons, it's something that I suppressed and ignored in terms of not paying attention. I could hide it from myself, almost from my consciousness. But being able to look at the blood and commune with it is really deep. It's really powerful. And it just reminds me of my phases. It reminds me of the work that I'm trying to do and the work that I'm trying to share. And there's something so comforting around it that reminds me, or not reminds me, but tells me that I'm on the right path. And it also kind of feels secure, like the way you would nuzzle into your mother's chest or something like that. There's something that's so serene and so secure about it that almost the day-to-day stuff doesn't matter. That there's something deeper and much more powerful happening, and that you can't get caught up in what the day-to-day looks like.
Like it takes you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Into like yourself.
Yes, very much so.
I like that. I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
Like your period is like recentering you.
Yes, exactly like that. So I'm really excited that I tried the Diva cup. I still want to try the Thinx because here's why. Because you said something that was very important, and you said that when you were using them, you felt free, and then it was very freeing. And that is the only thing, even though right now I don't necessarily feel it inside of me the way I would the tampon. The tampon was something that was very obvious. One, because you constantly have to change it, and the Diva cup, you just have to change it. Like, it says, I think, every 12 hours, but it really just depends on your flow. Because if I was really light, I think I could even go probably 24 hours. It's in the heavy time when you really have to take it out in the morning, and then again right before you go to bed.
According to Diva, you're supposed to change the cup every 12 hours. That is what is recommended. However, some women have reported that they do it every 24 hours. And when I was light, I too did it for 24 hours. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if it doesn't matter, but guilty.
I like the idea of sort of letting it flow out of you. I think there's a beautiful ritual about that.
Yes.
So I almost want to get to the Think panties so that I could maybe alternate the experiences.
Yeah. I loved that part, the free part. I think it was a lesson in trust too, to just let it go, because I've never done that.
That's so powerful if you think about that.
Yeah. I think that's why I was so paranoid too, because I was like, I just have to trust and like be free. Like I always have some supplement there, right? That's gonna like, and I did technically, right? But like to not feel it or even see it, like it felt like normal panties, just like maybe a little thicker, like a bathing suit.
Wow.
And I just felt so free, and I think I felt really like open and not constrained or suffocated. Like I felt like I was embracing my period. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but like I felt really, once I got into it and I knew that nothing was going to happen, I was like, I think I want to do this all the time, because I didn't feel like dirty.
Right.
And that's like a big thing for me. Yeah. And I knew that I wasn't going to go through because I wasn't seeing any signs of that. And I was just like, I'm going to go for it.
The Diva cup is anywhere from $29 to $46, depending where you purchase yours. The reason I purchased mine was because it was eco-friendly. And I just want to do something better for the environment. But there's also another feel-good benefit. I read somewhere that women spend somewhere around $20,000 just on pads and tampons alone. According to some people, the Diva cup will last you a lifetime. According to the Diva cup website, they want you to buy a new one every year. But many eco-friendly sites claim that with proper care, one cup could last you 10 years.
Thank you so much for sharing your story today. I loved having you on. This was so much fun. We're going to have to bring you back. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Las Vanetas. on Instagram.
Awesome. I'm going to link her information in the show notes so you can find her. And then, of course, on Instagram, I'm going to also put her information up so you'll be able to follow her.
We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this week's moon work, and I also have a couple of announcements.
Return to the one.
For this week's moon work, I want to encourage you guys to step a little bit outside of your comfort zone and perhaps try something different. Once your bleed comes around, you never know what can happen in terms of what your intuition might tell you, how much more connected you can feel to your flow. You can see by the experience that Vanessa and I had, we both had pretty impactful experiences. As always, you are more than welcome to write in at lettherebelose@gmail.com and let us know all about your experience. I do have two really important announcements. The first one is that I am holding a sacred circle for the full moon. So this is going to be a digital sacred circle, which is different from the last sacred circle that I held. Anyone from all over the world that has the computer or their phone and internet will be able to join digitally. I'm going to be going over some ancient beauty rituals as well as going over the 11 moon centers, which is different from anything that we've learned on this podcast. I really want to focus on self-love. So please take note of that. This is going to be for mature audiences only. We are also going to have special guest Marcela Arieta. You guys have heard me talk about her on this podcast several times. She will be holding the Twin Hearts meditation. It's one of my favorite meditations that she holds, and every time she does it, I always feel so serene and so calm and so grounded. So I can't wait to share her with all of you all. The Sacred Circle will take place on November 3rd at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're not able to attend, then you can still purchase a ticket and the recording will be sent out to you. Please note that we will be holding space and we will be holding energy for all of those that have registered for this Sacred Circle. Tickets are now selling live on my website, lettherebelose.com. If you go into services, you'll see the event there. Tickets are a karmic investment of $20. I really look forward to sharing space with you guys. I'm going to go ahead and hold off from announcing this on my personal Instagram because I want to make sure that the listeners have a chance to partake in the Sacred Circle. I'm going to give it about 24 hours from the release of this episode, and then I will go live with it on my personal Instagram. The announcement has already been made on our podcast Instagram, so be sure to follow at lettherebelose on Instagram for the most latest updates. I go there first for any updates relating any sacred circles or anything of that nature. And the last announcement, very important announcement, I'm going to be part of Podcast Stereo Fest that's going to take place November 19th. Be sure to follow Podcast Stereo Fest for all of the latest updates. On Friday, Podcast Stereo Fest's Instagram will be releasing a link to where you can register to this event. It is a free event, you guys. I am so excited for this event. It's free, but they are only allowing 250 attendees, and there's so many amazing podcasts that have thousands and thousands of followers. I want to make sure that if you guys want to attend this free event in Los Angeles, you have the opportunity to do so. So please don't forget to follow Podcast Stereo Fest for the link that will be released on Friday so that you can register for your free tickets. Also, I am selling merchandise for the first time ever, and I'm really excited and I'm simultaneously terrified, but I will have my merchandise exclusively up first at my merch table at the Podcast Stereo Festival. So attendees that attend the festival will be able to access the merchandise first before it goes live on site. I also have some free goodies for our listeners, so I really hope I get to see you guys there. I know it's going to be a ton of fun, and there's going to be other events and panels and a lot of fun stuff going on, so I can't wait to see you guys. All of this information will be on the website in the show notes. I know that I have been really bad in not updating the show notes for the last 2 episodes, but I got on that ASAP. Everything is updated, so go ahead and head on over to the website to check out all of the information. And till next time.
Return to the one.